Oh, what's been going on with the Pokemon series recently? This one was an unfinished linear mess. And this one was probably the most boring remake that I've played in my life. That's it, the series is done, it's got nothing going for it. My god. Pokemon Legends Arceus is the most interesting Pokemon game that I've seen in a while. Right now I'm like 10 hours into the game or so I wanted to make a video in what I liked and disliked about the game so far. And I can showcase the various interesting aspects about the game that I came across. But even with just this playtime, I discovered a lot of unique elements by the end of the 10 hours that I played, so you're gonna want to stick around to hear my conclusions about the game. If you've been watching these videos for a while, you'll know that I cover a bunch of different video game topics with some interesting special effects to accompany them. So hit subscribe if you want to see more of these style videos because I have plenty of ideas for the future. Let's get this started. Hour 1. The first thing that I noticed when playing is how the intro is literally the exact same as Breath of the Wild. It has a light talking to you and then the player wakes up. But they made Arceus talk like a god, which I really didn't expect. Then I got into the world, the actual game engine, and okay, how can you not notice that? Literally, I'll be blunt with you, the graphics are so bad. Like, the textures and models immediately stand out and look pretty awful. This is way into the Switch's lifespan, and the game should definitely be optimizing the hardware more at this point. But looks aren't everything in the game, and when I got to the actual catching tutorial, you know what, it was actually pretty cool. And the Pokemon even reacted to the player. I wanted to test the range of the Pokeballs, so I tried to do a trick shot to catch the last Pokemon, and after a little bit, it did actually work. So I turned around because cool guys don't look at explosions, then I got to the first village of the game, and oh, that frame rate. But I did notice you can actually hold down the ZL button to go into first person mode. So with this knowledge, I went around and terrorized the locals for a bit. This one guy seemed to be awfully suspicious of me by the looks of his stare. So since I wanted to avoid confrontation, I just backed away slowly and left. Okay, and this man also has Gardenia's hair. So we get to the starters, and I chose Cyndaquil because I love Johto. And then I got to the first Pokemon battle, and it was pretty cool, I gotta admit. You can just totally move around at your will, it's awesome. So now you can adjust the camera any way you like. It's not the same static angle like in all the other Pokemon games. Plus, did you see that? Pokemon actually walk to the opponent when attacking. Hour 2. At this point, I was starting the first catching tutorial, but I literally saw the world and just wanted to explore, but the stupid invisible wall wouldn't let me. Yeah, so I did have to play the tutorial first how the game wanted me to, but it did showcase how they mapped different types of Pokemon behaviors, so that was pretty cool that they don't react all the same way to the player. However, after that, it took me right back out of the open world. Then it's like more story, more explaining, more text, more tutorials, just let me explore. But after a little while of that, they drop you back in the open world. And oh, this was one of the coolest things I've done in a Pokemon game in quite some time. I wanted to explore this whole area. This was definitely something the Pokemon series needed. Everything is so seamless here too. To start a battle, you simply just throw your Pokemon on the field and then it begins. Crazy, I know, but I swear after this, the old games are gonna feel so much slower. And while the gameplay is fun, oh my god, the visuals keep sticking out for me. Like, why is that they can only render this small bunch of trees in front of me, and then the rest of the landscape is just left barren in the background? It is just so noticeable. Also, something else that I noticed while just screwing around, why does your player have moon physics when falling off a hill? After I discovered this, I literally just jumped off a bunch of hills because look at it, it's so entertaining to do. However, one of the letdowns, which I was surprised of with this open world, was that it wasn't one continuous map like Breath of the Wild, but it was broken up into various big landscapes and one central hub town that you can use to travel to the different areas. This game seemed to be designed around it, so it does work fine, but I don't know, all the trailers made it seem like this was gonna be just one big, grand, continuous area. Hour 3. So I was honestly enjoying just exploring this area so much that I continued to do so in this next hour. But as I was exploring, something crazy happened. I saw one of those weird red-eyed angry Pokemon for the first time. So I tried battling it and got absolutely swept. I couldn't catch it either. And rightfully so, I was using a level 6 Wurmple against a level 40 Rapidash. But you actually don't black out like all the other games when you lose all your Pokemon. And this was now actually a super great motivation for the player to grow stronger and train up, because one day I'll come back and I will not get swept by that thing. Also, after all this exploring, I was noticing more and more these little changes that were all over the game. Things like how turns in a battle work, how you can battle many wild Pokemon at once, and a lot of Pokemon's stats were different from the main games. Like these stats, for example, are much higher than what a level 3 would have. So yada yada, I continued to train and interact with the systems in the game until I got my first star rank. And in the story, this is where Volo over here tells you about the backstrike technique, and this is an awesome feature in the game. I love the way you start a battle can affect the battle itself, and it helps you catching Pokemon too. And then since I had 1 star now, I unlocked a new area and fought this lady. Hour 4. So yeah, I started by checking out this new area that I unlocked, and the first thing that I saw was, oof, that draw distance. Okay, I don't want to harp on the graphics all day here, but come on, huge, massive chunks of rock disappear right in front of you. This should have definitely been ironed out. Anyways, there was new Pokemon here, so I really just enjoyed going around and catching a lot of them. The whole catching process is super sped up in the game, so it's way less cumbersome to, well, simply catch Pokemon. Then I got my first main boss fight, I guess. The battle against Whoop. And it was a lot more challenging than I thought, which is always a plus. And then there's a bunch more story stuff that happens. Also, I am noticing the same old, Game Freak being Game Freak things coming through. For example, a lot of the animations were like this, where they literally would just fade to black instead of animating things. It's getting old at this point, guys. But in all of these cutscenes, you really get to see all the different Diamond and Pearl character references and ancestors, which I really like. We've never seen a prequel like this in Pokemon, so I'm really liking how it shows where some of these classic characters came from. Plus, I'm noticing a bunch of little quality of life things here and there as I play. For example, literally in most cases, you don't even need a move relearner. You can just swap your Pokemon's moves at any time. This is something that I didn't even know I needed. Hour 5. Alright, so training time is over. It's time to head to these woods and continue the story. But ooh, look at these Scythers. Hang on, I gotta get me one of those. At this point, I think I was definitely getting more of a feel of how the sneaking and catching mechanics work in tandem with one another. I love sneaking in the trees, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But then before we can progress, we have to first do some more story stuff, and then we get the first rideable Pokemon, Weirdeer. Love the name, by the way. This guy moves so fast, making it a lot easier and quicker to traverse the world. However, I find him to be pretty finicky in a lot of the slopes. I almost had to push and force my way up in many instances. Still though, it's pretty great moving with this deer, so I just wanted to explore the rest of this area at this point. And with this, I found a breakable rock that leads to a secret cave, beginning what I call the Great Cave Adventure. This is like the first secret area that I discovered in the game, and I really liked what they did here. You have items and Pokemon that I've never seen before hidden in this area, like Machops and Sky Tumblestone. I eventually did get to the other side of the cave, which had this little landing here, but I could actually scale the mountain right above the cave and saw a bunch of Machokes. What? I booked it away from the first one I saw, which worked because he ran in circles, got dizzy, and forgot I was even here, and that gave me the perfect chance to catch him. Listen here, kid, you didn't see a thing. Your dad's gonna be alright, okay? I kept exploring this little secret place, and I found a Blissey. So I tried battling it, and it was literally level 62, like holy. It did sweep a lot of my team, but I was actually still able to catch it. And since its level was so high, my Pokemon leveled up so much. Scyther literally gained 16 levels. Damn! I love these little secret areas here, and even though there aren't that many of them, this was one of the coolest discoveries for me so far. Hour 6. So I looked at the stats of all the Pokemon that I caught in those areas, and wow, were they ever overpowered. Blissey was 62 like I saw, but these Machokes were all in the mid-40s. Jeez. Honestly, was I even supposed to be able to go up here this early with the Weirdeer? I don't even know, because these Pokemon were way higher levels than anything else that I saw. However, when I ended up trying out these guys, it was such a pain to use in battle, since half the time they wouldn't obey me because their levels were too high. This was pretty lame, I gotta admit. Like, I get why they do this so you don't just sweep the game now, but it really does ruin a lot of the incentive to catch these super powerful Pokemon when you can't even use the reward. Anyways, enough of these side adventures, let's continue the story and fight the first boss. And this fight was, it was okay. It's cool how it's in real time now, but you literally just keep chugging sacks of food at it the whole time. There are points when you can send in your Pokemon to fight, but you could just damage the guy in other methods without risking your Pokemon fainting, so I just stuck with that option instead. However, with this boss down, I unlocked the next area in a new biome that I can now explore. Hour 7. So even though I unlocked new areas, I actually really wanted to fully explore the last area I was in first. And I found a bunch more of these red-eyed Pokemon like this Snorlax here. However, I was unsuccessful with these ones since they were still too powerful to catch. I even had a battle of the two thick ones and still lost because Blissey has like no offensive capabilities. I also saw this Gyarados too, but literally could not catch the thing for the life of me. The catch rate might be tweaked or something in this game, but he literally broke out of every ball. What gives? My luck can't be that bad. And oh, that frame rate. I came across another new mechanic in this game known as space-time distortions. And it was pretty cool going into it in the first time because everything was so new in it. There was a bunch of rare Pokemon and items to collect. And the Pokemon spawn right next to you, which always kept me on my toes. I even saw an enraged Alakazam in this area. Okay, that's it. I'm out of here, onto the new area. Once there, I again started to explore this new place. It was a similar excitement to the very start of this game. However, I didn't like this biome as much as the last one, cause it's not as interesting to be in this muddy swamp place. Your Weirdeer actually gets mud on it when he goes through it, so that's a cool unexpected detail, I guess. Hour 8. Okay, so I had enough exploring for a bit and wanted to continue with the story, so I met this grumpy old lady in a cave. Then I fought Volo again. At this point, I was slowly learning more and more about the battle system, but this fight seemed a bit cheap. I killed his first Pokemon, Togepi, whatever. Then he sent in his Gibble, and okay, that's fine. I don't get to select a move, and he attacks me with Bulldoze. Then I still don't get to select an option, and he goes again and kills me. Like, I get that the speed stat works differently in this game, and you can use the Agile style to attack more, but don't tell me that a level 22 Gibble outspeeds a level 32 Quilava twice. I did everything right here and still somehow got outplayed. I am enjoying this change up in the battle system, but I don't get this one. But whatever, I did some more story stuff, and then we got this bear boss battle, which wasn't all that hard because Espeon is awesome. And then I unlocked the bear as a rideable Pokemon. Honestly, this guy is not as good as Weirdeer. He can find hidden items to dig up, but I really couldn't be bothered to use him outside the required parts since he's not that fast. Also, I noticed that this biome has a lot more steeper slopes here, and they can be an absolute pain to climb up with Weirdeer. Like, these ones feel so glitchy to traverse. Hour 9. So now I was on my way to fight the boss of this area when I noticed this Roserade. Okay, so my Quilava was like 3 levels from evolving, and if I've learned anything from that battle with Blissey, then it's that defeating or catching these enraged Pokemon gives you easy level ups. Plus, I wanted to test myself and see if I could take down one of these guys with all the techniques that I've learned so far. And I did manage to get real close and hit him in the back with a heavy ball, no less, but it immediately broke out. Then I assumed battling it and weakening it that way would help the catch rate, so that was my next option. And it still didn't work. I literally weakened it and chugged Pokeballs the whole time, and Roserade swept my whole team, even taking down the thick one. Alright Roserade, this means war. I was determined to take out this Rose now. I first burned all of his stupid little Rose daughters, and then went back to challenge him, only to have him one-shot my Quilava before I could even attack. Ugh. So I went back to the camp to heal, went back to the Rose, and attacked him from the back this time to get a surprise attack. This way I got to attack first, so my Espeon did a bunch of damage to it, then Quilava could come in and finish him off. Phew. I like how this game allows the player to make little adventures like this. But now, my Quilava could finally evolve into the awesome final evolution that's known as... Typhlosion? Who the hell is this? And what have you done with Typhlosion? I guess they made new Hisuian forms for the final starter evolutions, which I do like that concept, but this Typhlosion design is way worse than the original one. Look at his derpy face. Okay, and I just looked up the other starters' final evolutions, and I gotta say, Samurott looks cool, but at least I didn't choose whatever this thing is supposed to be. Anyways, after that tangent, I went to the boss battle, only to realize that it was pretty much the same battle as the first one with slightly different attacks. But you attack it in the same way. So now I can go to the next area, but I first wanted to see what the rest of this place had to offer. And it was pretty sweet once again. The highlight of this whole thing was finding this little secret nook of the map with this pond. And it had Turtwigs there just hanging out, which I've never seen one before in the game. So yeah, I'm putting him on my team. Hour 10. So there's a bunch more story stuff happening now, including a bunch of people that come to your village, and they seem to be actually making buildings, which seems cool if your village keeps on growing throughout the game. But I'll have to see at the end what it's like. Then we get to the next area that looks like this beach/bay area with a bunch of tall cliffs surrounding it. And at first glance, this looks to be a much more interesting place than the last location. Obviously, once again, the first thing I did here was take a break from the story and just explore this new place. Plus, I also wanted to train up my new Turtwig. But oh yeah, literally this thing already evolved into a Grotle last battle when I defeated this Glaceon, and I didn't even use him in the fight. And then I battled this enraged Walrein twice, and boom, I had my Torterra in a very short time. It is ridiculously easy to level up in this game, and I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing yet. And that's basically where I'm at 10 hours into this game. Overall, I am really enjoying it so far, a lot more than I initially thought. The highlight is definitely the exploration for me. However, there are still some parts where I feel like they cut corners, and it can get rough around the edges. Plus, I don't know if this gameplay loop will get boring or repetitive by the end of the game or in multiple playthroughs, but for now, I'm just gonna keep playing the game to eventually make a big, in-depth review of it. And wow, am I ever good at segues, because you're going to want to subscribe to the channel if you want to see when that review comes out, because I do have a lot planned for that video. It's going to be a good one. But until then, that's it for me, and I'll see you guys later.